Terrence, tell the people why this episode you're in peril, because we've talked about you being in peril
Uh-huh.
before.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell the people why I set up the charger that I should have before. Why you're in peril this episode.
I do not have my Zen pouches
And
right now.
on a scale of 1 to 10,
Mhm.
how hard does that make your life?
It makes it extremely hard.
What's the feeling you get when you don't have your Zyn is nicotine, correct?
Yeah, it's nicotine
What
pouch.
is the feeling in your body when you don't have the nicotine that you crave so dearly?
I get very irate.
Yeah.
I get very irrational.
Okay.
It kind of taps into my primal self,
Okay.
my the dark self.
So do you feel as though the nicotine sort of tampers down your true being?
Oh, absolutely.
Interesting.
We don't need the full beast.
Do you think that'll come out on the podcast? Do you think like the real beast, the wolf within is
Yeah.
going to rear its head into this podcast?
Oh yeah, the wolf within is gonna come out tonight, guys.
Well, let's hope everybody's okay with all that. How is it going, everybody? I'm your host, Dan Donohue, and we are going on tour. Before we get started with the episode, tour dates. We added one. We got Cleveland in January.
Yeah.
So those are going to be up by Sunday. So at the end of this episode, those tickets are going to be available for Cleveland. Hilarities.
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 Nice.
One of the greater club names.
Yeah. I mean, that's like classic '80s, you know.
Teehees was the one I did before I gave you that shirt for.
Yeah, I know.
But
TVs is powerful.
we also have Kansas City this weekend. Come to the Kansas City shows. We got Springfield, Missouri. We got Minneapolis. We got Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey. So all those tickets are going to be in the link tree. And then Terrence, do you got anything?
I am gonna be at the homestead. I'm gonna be at the homestead.
That's not a venue, folks. He is just saying he's going to be at home.
They actually like a few people messaged me and was like, "Do you have like a Facebook comedy page?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. I am working on it, guys."
Not only no, and let's now I do want full honesty on this podcast. I think it's very compelling to people, even if the honesty is ugly.
Uh-huh.
I think it's more compelling than dishonesty.
Okay.
I always think honesty is generally the best policy.
Uh-huh.
But so let's be honest with these people.
Yeah.
If I don't set up Terrence's Facebook comedy page, it is never going to get set up.
I mean, never say never, but I mean, it is
The chances are so low.
It is like, you know how neutrinos, the particles, you gotta like catch them in those big.
Yeah.
Once in a bit, but it's there. They catch
Right.
them. You know what I mean?
The chances of a hydrogen collider ending the known universe as we know it is much higher than Terrence starting his own Facebook comedy
the
page.
heat death of the universe.
Do you ever think about that? The heat death of the universe?
Oh yeah.
From time to time.
Oh yeah. I think about that more and more
as time goes on.
As I get older, you know.
Yeah.
More about the metaphysical. And yeah, I think about it. I don't think about it as much as I did. That's kind of like a late 20s thing. That's kind of like when you're still young and spry, and then once you hit 30, you're like, I need to think about tax. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You're just like, man, these taxes.
Yeah, I actually need to see the dentist, so I'm going to stop thinking about how the world is, essentially balancing on a string of protons and neutrons firing off at the correct time.
All that gets thrown away once you actually like read your check stub. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you realize, oh, I should have gone to college. I should have gotten off of Reddit and gone to college.
Yeah, and that's when the regrets come, and you're just like, man, what did I do for the last 10 years?
Well, it's good that you're here, Terrence, even though you are in a diminished state as always. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, if you could throw this up in the chat. I was in Dayton, Kentucky. I was there for a total of 24 hours exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I got in at 6 a.m. the morning before, and I left at 6 a.m. the morning after.
Mm-hmm.
It was lovely. Have you ever been to Kentucky or anywhere in that area?
I stopped at a Walmart in Kentucky.
Yeah, man.
It was truly. I've never seen like a full service Walmart.
It's incredible.
It was like literally like the community center.
Yeah, well, there's two things that I saw in Dayton, Kentucky. I saw a man walking down the street with a crossbow, just casually, like he was taking his crossbow for a walk. Like he was like, "Honey, I'm gonna do the dishes, but right now I have to take the crossbow out. Our neighbors aren't scared enough. I have to do my daily duty of taking the crossbow for a stroll."
The daily flex.
And the other thing I saw is, this was maybe the most Kentucky thing I saw, is a guy went into a coffee shop that I was in, writing. You know how I am.
Yeah.
I'm writing. I'm just in the coffee shop, right? And it's not a big deal.
Don't know what you can't read it, but we're writing.
Yeah. If you look at it after, you think it is
like runish.
Right.
It's like Nordic rune.
I realized I could never do, not that I would want to, but even if I did, I could never do like a Zodiac killer style series of rampages, because no one could read my notes. I would leave notes at the crime scene and they'd be like, "We're actually going to give up on this case." We have DNA, but to compile all the evidence, we would need to try to decipher this handwriting, and so we're just going to let this guy slide.
Yeah. It's just Necronomicon language.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I do worry when I write, because my handwriting is so bad, and it is essentially at this point just sort of symbols. Like my handwriting is so bad, it's just symbology at this point. So I am worried at some point I will accidentally summon a deity to this earth that will torment me. Yeah. And make me actually cross my T's instead of just kind of looping down and crossing.
Yeah. How you write is how people like speak in tongues.
Yeah,
It's just a feeling. You know
my handwriting is like the
Dude, I remember you left like a notebook at our house, and we were like, "What is this?"
No, if you tried reading my hand, people have tried reading my handwriting, and it does sound like they're talking in tongues. They're like, "What did he put here?" Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I think it says.
Yeah. Actually, someone's asking here, can we see your handwriting? I'll tell you what, you know what? I'm not gonna do that
because we forgot to plug. Forgot to plug the Patreon. If you join the Patreon, which is also in the link tree, I'm gonna after this episode, and after we record the Patreon episode, which we do an extra episode every week, I will post a picture of my handwriting.
Absolutely. But pages.
I'm in the coffee shop. I'm writing. A guy comes in. Sort of a guy who seems kind of like a fixture of this town, right? Seems like a guy. I was talking about it on the last Patreon episode. He's like a real outside kind of dude. That doesn't mean homeless. That just means he's a guy. He's an outside kind of guy. Yeah, he's always outside. He comes in and he's like, "I don't have enough money for the coffee, but I could tell you a story." Like he tried to exchange a story for the coffee, and the craziest thing, they let him.
Oh, that's powerful.
They were like, "Yeah, sure," and he tells his story, and they give him the coffee.
Yeah, knowing that he has just tons of gold, just like buried somewhere. He just
yeah, but he's not going to give it to you unless you show him that your heart is pure.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. He's an apparition.
The shows were so good, dude, and like this was a trip that honestly, again, honesty is the best policy. In the back of my head, I was kind of worried about, because I didn't know if I was even going to break even money wise on the trip. Like I was really like, man, I'm going to be like spending money, and also like whatever. And then I got there and I did the 2 shows, and I was like, who cares? Like, I'll make it back even if I don't know what the breakdown was at this point, but I'm like, it was so fun.
Yeah.
I was performing in a church. There's a comedy club that they bought, like a rundown church, and they made a comedy club in it. People in the neighborhood are like pissed about it, which makes it even cooler because it's like a punk rock kind of thing. Dude, it was I was like, I hope protesters come. I hope someone tries throwing a brick at me. Like, this is the best. This is what it's all about. It really
Those
was.
places that are just like one bad moment away from getting burnt down.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
dude. If
yeah.
it wasn't made out of brick, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it was really good. Thank you for the people who came out to that show.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give I try to give the road updates on the Patreon, but I want to give people a little sneak preview here.
Oh yeah.
We wanted to talk before you go down there. We had a couple other things on the docket.
Oh yeah.
Terrence,
What's happening?
had you listened to Taylor Swift before I threw it on? Before I threw her on in the car?
You know,
Go ahead, click it.
Here you go, guys. When I'm the times I have drived other people's car, of course, I do not have a car right now, nor have I ever owned a car.
Oh, really?
Well, I had. That's we'll put a cap on that. That's actually a very funny story once we get to the next topic. But no, I have. I think I've only heard one Taylor Swift song in its completion. Earnestly, I know next to nothing about Taylor Swift. I know a little bit about her story.
Yeah. Prolific story, profound story.
Yeah. She's somewhere in between, just like a talented person, industry plant, just like all the controversy of a.
Here's the thing:
star.
You can't get that big without everything like being said about you. Like Michael Jackson was where was Michael Jackson from? He was from I think from Gary, Indiana. I think he was like gang affiliated. Michael Jackson. You can look this up. A very good comic. My buddy Opie told me, and I was like, that does not sound real. Go ahead and open another tab while I talk about this. And but yeah, Michael Jackson grew up in like a really like tough neighborhood, and there are pictures of him with.
Okay, you want me to find it?
Yeah. Just look up Michael Jackson gang.
Michael Jackson gang. Okay, let's see here.
Because
I know there's that picture with him like throwing up C's.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like. I can't. Dude, that's so funny.
Truly, dude.
Michael Jackson, 89 East Coast Crib.
Yeah.
Oh my good. That's like a I don't mean to go deep into gang history. Like
no, please. I'm sure the people who are listening would.
East Coast Crip. That's like a very long-standing Crip set. Wow. I mean, it makes sense that it would be in Indiana.
So what I'm saying is the fact that Taylor Swift has not been accused of being gang affiliated yet shows that she is incredibly popular, but perhaps not yet at the echelon of like. As soon as a picture comes out of Taylor Swift like repping Latin Kings, I don't think that she's at that level yet. Because that like what I'm saying is when someone becomes such an icon, when someone becomes such a incredibly powerful icon in the public eye, everything is going to be said about them. They're in the Illuminati. They're a gang member. They like all of this. Now, by the way, I say that I don't really know if Michael Jackson was actually gang affiliated. What I'm talking about is the fact that he is like said to be that, which seems pretty unlikely. But like with people who are incredibly famous, it's like everything is gonna get said about them. So like the Taylor Swift, she's a nepo baby, she's an industry plant, she made like everything's gonna be said about you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's very few.
She did 9/11.
Right. I mean, even The Rock gets like a lot of stuff thrown around about him and stuff like there's people and he seems to be sort of like one of the more untouchable people in the public eye. But even he has yes, I've heard all that stuff about Taylor Swift. Now, what did you feel about the songs that we listened to?
I think I was talking about you with the car. I was like, I don't understand this, but at the same time, I know it's not for me. But I can understand why it's popular. I'm like, I can just not, in my mind, I cannot find anything redeeming. Not because she's not good. I've seen her like concert. She's a hard worker. She actually has a good team.
Let me add a couple of things to what you're saying here because I am with you. Like it's not something that I would turn on and listen to myself. When I listen to her music, I think this is something that is made to be played in a stadium that a private jet that is the size of a yacht was flown to and she performs it in front of 50,000 people, 30,000 of whom who are actively crying. It's like that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of music it is.
But it's just like the Taylor Swift fan. I was talking in the car. I'm like, are they doing like MK Ultra stuff on the track? It's like, you know how it's like
this people, like, I think it's a momentum thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that people kind of just build momentum, certain people, whether it's sheer talent or luck, but at that level it's always a mixture of both.
Yeah.
At that level it is always a mixture of incredible talent and incredible luck.
I think I just want to add this. Her
Yeah.
sound is like, you know what like bass does to black people? Like whatever happens in a Taylor Swift song, it just makes young white women go feral.
Or what heavy metal does to certain white people. Yeah.
You just want to
where you listen to it, you're like, I think glass should break right now. I don't know where or with what, but glass is going to break at this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is definitely that's the vibe of.
And that here is she's doing some really good commentary. The
white
woman perspective. She's really
good. You need the WWP, but yeah, you know, some of Taylor Swift's songs, you know, like that's the other thing about a song with such wide sweeping mass appeal is some of the times like it does seem, oh, the song is sort of made for that reason. But I mean, I think breaking down someone's music is so stupid because it's all subjective. It's all about the people's opinions.
Yeah.
But it is really like wild the impact that she has. I mean, like the fact that the NFL is just completely using her being at the games throughout they cut to her 4 times. Also, she's going to Kansas City once a week. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, I think she has that type of fame where it's just like I could see her going to just Kansas City just to like relax.
But
you know what
once
I
mean? A week,
yeah,
she's going to Kansas. I mean,
she can afford it.
But still, you can afford to go anywhere, and you go to Travis Kelce is putting up like combine record cunnilingus stats. There's no, I mean that boy is doing something. That young man is doing something to have the most famous person in the world fly to Kansas City.
Absolutely.
Please come to my shows in Kansas City.
Kansas City. Kansas City is beautiful, but have you ever been?
No, I'm so excited to go.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's very beautiful city.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
And then Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Bass Pro. Oh yeah, we talked about Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, I mean, it was fun to listen to Taylor Swift with you.
Yeah, like I was thinking, like whenever I hear a Taylor Swift song, I automatically just taste like Bud Light in my mouth. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like that. It's like, ooh, we're at Jersey's.
A Jersey Mike's.
Yeah. Well, not Jersey Mike's, but just people with jerseys.
Oh, I understand.
Just like a sporting event. That's the only thing that I.
I didn't know if she had some sort of a relationship to Jersey Mike's.
She probably does.
Yeah.
She probably owns Jersey Mike's.
That would be cool. And then we had one more thing on the docket.
Oh yeah,
dude, I love having business to handle.
I love
having business to take care of.
Right here, bro.
I wanted to talk a little bit because I think it's important for people to get to know Terrence here, right? And I feel like you guys have through the glimpses into his faltering mental health that we've had on the podcast. But something that you don't know, actually, when I first met you, you went from not having a job to having a job at the DMV.
What? No, dude. Since you've known me, I've always been employed. Not at the same place, not continuously, but your boy stays employed.
In that case, you had shifted jobs to working at the DMV.
Yes.
When I first knew you.
Yes, indeed.
Back when I was like nervous to talk to you because I was like, and that how the tables have turned.
The tables have not turned.
How the tables have turned.
The tables have not. I'm doing great.
You are doing great.
Yeah.
No, you're doing good. You insulted me very deeply at the Buffalo Wild Wings earlier today.
You admitted it. I won. You
no.
admitted it.
First of all, human conversation is not a series of wins and losses. It is just sort of a beautiful confluence of dialogue that we
Yeah.
have and share with one another.
Yeah. No, but like it being a that's a type of energy.
Sure.
You're jingling. Oh man, I'm gonna dox you. You're jingling
Yeah.
keys. I'm like, dude. Oh, you're being Dan right now. You're
Yeah.
jingling keys.
It's fun when you're out at Buffalo Wild Wings with your friends.
And you're just silent, just smiling, whatever. And then all of a sudden you just jingle keys.
I start jingling keys at my buddy to see if he reacts to it like a baby would.
No.
And that's nice.
Sociopathic.
Friends are just cats.
I was just looking at you and I wanted to scream. Stop being a sociopath.
I'm not. It wasn't me being a sociopath. I was treating my friend like a beautiful baby. Is it wrong to treat your friend like a beautiful baby? And if it is, lock me up.
I could just see you just trying to, how do I get a stimulus effect?
Yeah. Here's the thing. We're all doing that. So why not be upfront about it and jingle keys in front of someone's face?
Dude, you are so lucky. I could have just bumped Killian and be like, yo, look at Dan. And it would have been over for you.
No, it would have been fine.
It would have been over.
If you think I haven't dealt with a 2-on-1 against you and Killian before, you're crazy.
No.
I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with that.
You just had a straight face, and then a week later you're like
I'm like Rob Gronkowski. I've been like fighting with my brothers for years and years, and that's what's made me strong.
All right. No, well, no.
All right.
Yeah.
What
were we talking about?
The DMV. Now,
DMV.
You start working there. This is at sort of now. Correct me if I'm wrong. The height of your sort of let's call it drug-induced mania.
Yeah.
What was it like holding down a very almost coveted government job at the height of that?
Well, one thing you have to know about DMV, have you ever done any sort of like state or state adjacent work? It the levels of competence, like the level of work, it always varies, but it is without a doubt all the time hard to get fired.
Interesting.
It is insanely hard to get fired.
Is that why people have this concept of people at DMV being rude? Because most of them are just like, yeah, I'll talk to you however I want. I'm not gonna get fired for this.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool.
No, it's pretty, like, if you've ever just had a bad experience with like someone at the DMV, just know that they're doing this because they cannot get fired.
They don't care if you live or die.
I mean, it depends. I was a pretty good worker.
I'm sure you were.
I was, even like at my worst, I was like, I'd have like a few yelling matches, which was like great. It's like great.
Tell me about those. We've heard so many DMV stories on the part of the person going into the DMV and having a bad time.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell us the other end of that. Take me from the beginning to the end of a bad confrontation you had with someone at the DMV.
Well, okay, so I have to say this also, like the kind of like the bureaucratic red tape of it.
Sure.
It's confusing to even us. And we've gone through, I mean, we will have to face situations where where they're just telling you, call this office, call that office, and then that other office tells you to call this office.
Sure.
Like that will happen to us all the time, and you feel bad. And the person on the other side is justifiably mad,
right?
But then when you try to explain, it's just, and then you get mad at them, and then because you can't get fired, there have been some times where I've had screaming matches with people, and this was like I got hired during like the Real ID kind of like change, so that was wild because nobody knew what was up. We had to just go through the website ourselves and just see what you had to do. You had to talk to other state organizations like city halls.
Right.
City halls, they are the worst people ever. I hate calling city hall.
You know what's so funny? I never even considered a city hall to be a place that even does something. I felt like
they do.
I feel like that's so funny because to me, a city hall is kind of like the Buckingham Palace of a small town. It's just like, yeah, I don't know if anything goes on there, but like they decorate for Halloween and stuff.
Yeah, and I think one of the other worst parts of it was literally talking to other state workers who were just apathetic. And I'm just like, I remember I was talking to this lady and I accidentally called her sir, and she yelled at me for like 2 minutes.
For like,
yeah,
like
she was like angry, and I was like,
What
"I am
about
so
like what was
sorry."
she was just like, I can't believe you would disrespect me like that.
She was like, ma'am, I am man," and then she just kept doing that for like a minute and a half
Yeah,
while I
because
had
there's
someone else.
my question is, how did she have 2 minutes worth of steam on that one?
Bro, the beauties of working for the state, man.
Yeah,
You really do. But like, and like if you're like a half functioning kind of drug addict like I was then, the work is insanely repetitive.
right.
So like you could just I remember I was times where I'd be on like Xanax and Adderall at the same time, plus drunk, come in like only a minute before 8 and then just like roll through the day.
A guy comes in, he's like, "Yeah, I need a driver's license." You're like, "That's crazy."
Yeah. No, actually I worked in the call center. So this was like
Ah,
the in Massachusetts it's called the RMV.
yeah,
It's called the RMV, Registry of Motor Vehicles, and I worked at the call center. So it was super easy. The systems that they use are super old. A lot of podcasts. There's a lot of podcasts about how old the RMV system is. Oh yeah, Nat. I was early every time. I was never late.
that's crazy.
I remember one time I was like, because I would take an Uber because I was so messed up. I would take just an Uber to my work every day when I did not have to.
That's crazy.
And I remember one time I was getting in an Uber and then the Uber was like, "Yo, you got to get out. I got to go do this thing." So he just like left me in the side of the road somewhere in Savin Hill.
Oh
And
man.
it just happened. One of my coworkers was just driving by, just watching me, just looking sad. And she was
Aw.
like, "Hey, get in the car."
Oh, that's great, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that being an Uber, because I drove Uber in Boston. That's a whole nother thing to get into. But yeah, it was so funny to see you holding down a government job and just picturing that unfolding.
It was insane. And like people loved me. Like the
Yeah, I'm
union,
sure.
I went to a union meeting and they were like, "Yeah, we want you to be like the young guy." Maybe they did that to like every young dude,
Right.
but they were like, "You seem legit. You seem like a good dude."
Right.
Like we really want you to be like a part of this. And they were kind of like grooming me in like the good way, but they were like grooming me to be like kind of I guess a substantial part in the union.
Did you ever consider it?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
thought about joining?
I mean, I was pretty apathetic about everything.
Even
But
comedy?
yeah,
Yeah.
I was so apathetic about everything. I was like on the verge of quitting comedy and probably harming myself. But
Sure. Well, that's what's funny is I think like everybody who does comedy cares about it to a pretty high degree. But I think that a lot of people just can't. I don't know. Like I've always prioritized it, even in many ways to my detriment. But it's never been. I've never thought about quitting once.
yeah. I think about quitting like once a week.
Well, you do quit
I
once a
do.
week.
I do. I quit once
Yeah,
a
you
week.
quit once a month.
I
Yeah.
disappear
Yeah.
from life.
It's
once a
very
month.
funny. But
yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, there wasn't much. I wish I had like cool stories about.
no, you don't need cool stories. I just wanted to talk about the fact that you were working at the RMV when I met you, and that was just such a bananas idea to me.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, did your friendship with Ricardo ever get in the way with work?
Hell no, bro.
That's good.
I would go from Ricardo's house to my job,
Crazy.
like just blitzed,
Crazy.
just looking wild.
Yeah, Ricardo's never even been to the. I don't think he's ever had a government document once.
Absolutely not.
That's really crazy,
dude. He like wrecked someone's car recently.
Oh my god! Of course he
I
did.
was like, bro, and they're like still cool.
Great.
I was like, Ricardo.
Throw something in the chat. Why don't you?
Oh my
that's
goodness.
the end of the
That's the end.
the pre-planned segments. But I'm sure that we got some good comments in the live, and
oh my goodness.
you can always join us for the live, by the way. But
Absolutely. But actually, we have a question here from our longtime viewer, Nat. Here,
Nat's great.
Nat, love you, Nat. She says,
Nat
I'm on
carries.
the brink of deciding if I want to keep being a teacher or if I want to do something completely different. I go back and forth daily. Nat.
Teachers are. I mean, it's so messed up how we treat teachers, but I don't think I've ever met a single teacher that's not like man, I gotta find something else to do. Like, I'm thinking about quitting.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
never met a single teacher that's not thinking about quitting.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so it's meanwhile, I've never talked to a police officer who isn't like, this is awesome. Like, there's something going on in our country where, like, we got to incentivize teachers more, man, or at least take some of the strain off of them, because
yeah.
there are so many teachers who are actively trying to get into stand-up comedy, and it's like, this is a bad sign.
Yeah.
You know who's not trying to actively get into stand-up comedy? Police officers. You know why? They're happy.
They are so happy.
Yeah.
Dude. They get to sleep in their car.
Not all of them. Some of them are very traumatized. I understand that, but it's like
all of them.
all of them. But like the money and the pensions generally pretty sweet.
Pretty great. Endless promotions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You get to wave your gun sometimes. You get to like conceal carry. You just get to carry your gun everywhere. And my dad was in the SWAT, so we
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was in the SWAT team.
Wow.
So like when I was like younger, it was always in SWAT team. But when I was younger, we do like SWAT exercises when I lived with them, we do SWAT exercises in our house.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one time,
gotta find the pinch points.
Yeah, dude. She's telling me about like this is the death tunnel right here, and then all this stuff. I remember they were doing like a big SWAT exercise, and they recruited me as one of the enemies.
That's good casting.
Yeah. And then what they did, we thought it was like me and this like dude from New Hampshire, like this live free or die type guy. And we were just like hanging out in this like rented room. And we thought they were coming from the door. We did like a fake IED, like booby trap.
Sure.
But then they knocked out from the windows. They threw in a flashbang
cool.
grenade. It literally, a flashbang.
An actual
flashbang exploded in my face.
Jesus Christ.
And then I just like ran into like a room and I just hid under the table until they grabbed me.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was very fun time. Love you, Dad.
Yeah, that's how they train their SWAT team, is to put them against one of the scaredest 12-year-olds in the world.
I was like 19.
Okay, that's not bad. You know what? In that case, I take what I say back. You are the exact age and honestly demographic of the people they are probably swatting.
Yeah. And the demographic.
Right.
Yes. I'm exactly what they're looking for.
Right.
A 130-pound, just PTS, just like hyper vigilant man.
Now, what does Nat want to do otherwise, or did she just say that she?
Okay. No, we got here. Actually, we got a little update here.
Yeah.
So it's like, what am I doing here? It's not the kids. It's getting micromanaged by my boss / no money for my school because it's the therapeutic school.
Oof.
You have kind of experience in this.
I mean, whenever I think about this, like, there's a lot of stuff that I hate thinking about because it makes me so sad. And one of those things is like, we put so little money into the things that actually have long-term benefit to society because it just doesn't benefit us in the short term, at least.
Yeah.
There are so many completely inept teachers. There are so many completely, like, good teachers that are completely overworked. But it's like, because like upping the salary of teachers, first of all, we got the money for it.
Yeah.
We got the money for it.
Yeah.
We just put it into other stuff because there's a bunch of private companies we need to look out for. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, they give them nothing. The special needs teachers are generally even worse.
Yeah.
Like, not in terms of their like their special needs teachers are great. I'm saying like they're worse off.
Yeah.
Because it's generally the group of people that, like, for whatever reasons, like, some people got into special needs teaching because they wanted to. Others got into special needs teaching literally because they were like, well, this will be easier, so I'll just do this, which is not, but that's
just
someone
we think we could, like, they look like they can take a punch.
Yeah, that's how they pick us. They look at a person and they go, you could lose a lot of blood and still be fine. We're gonna have you with the troubled children.
Like, just look for a dude with a scar on their face. You know what I'm saying?
Because we luckily don't arm teachers, but you could so
If you
easily
armed it, that'd be so funny.
you could so easily. I mean, here's the thing: we should not arm teachers to prevent mass shootings, but there should be a gun range at the school where the teachers can let off steam. The guns don't leave the gun range;
They don't
they
leave-
lock it up. Also, I'm obviously kidding. I don't think that would be very safe either.
There's just a problem with them being smuggled out.
Yeah.
You know how there's like gangs in some schools? It's like the teachers, they formed a power block. Now they have power on these streets.
That might work, dude.
Yeah.
You know what happened recently that it made me really, really sad.
Mhm.
I was watching regular TV in a hotel room,
Mhm.
in Des Moines. Like I was watching just whatever, like a sports game, and
Mhm.
a advertisement came on for like a laser tag thing, where a bunch of kids are like wearing laser tag vests and they're shooting each other with laser. And my first thought, like my first notion of it, was to think about school shootings, and I was like, man, things are really. And I'm not talking like statistics and stuff. It's bad, obviously
Yeah.
too. But I'm talking about just like
The zeitgeist,
the
conscious,
the collective conscious.
Yeah.
The collective conscious is so messed up because like I don't steep myself in that. I don't like inundate myself with news or bad stuff. Like I don't have Twitter for that reason because Twitter to me was mostly news.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, when it comes to that sort of thing, it makes me so upset because I didn't want to have that thought, but it just can't because you're just so inundated with school shooting stuff. You start
Yeah.
something.
Oh yeah, this was just a little side thing. I don't think it's too controversial. It's about I think we can get some input on this. So
Great.
From Urza Fox here. Didn't the NFL suffer sales during COVID as bad as everyone? Looking for new gen audience too. New gen, I guess
New
they are looking
generation.
for, since we know the cost and concussions and TBI
Mhm.
are closer to age where our sports heroes are being visibly enfeebled from the energy
Yeah.
from the injuries. I'm sorry.
Of course.
So I think he's basically saying, do you think the NFL has some? Do you think the new
generation of people? Well, yeah. Let me actually talk about this because this is a really, really interesting point that I think this person is making. And correct me if I'm wrong. As we become more and more aware of the effects that sports have on athletes' bodies, a lot of things come to like I do truly believe that sports have incredible merit for not only society as a whole, but for me. I like watching. I get a lot out of sports and sports stories. One of the surefire ways to make me feel very emotional is to see like good sportsmanship. Like for some reason that just gets me. However, information about CTE concussions and stuff. Now here's what I'll say. For many, many years, this is a theory. This is just a theory I have. For many, many years, the UFC and mixed martial arts in general has had this discussion where you have the best fighters in the UFC, and there's always this debate where it's like, well, the best athletes in the world, like I'm saying pure athletes, tend to do other things because when you think about it, why would you do mixed martial arts if you were an absolute top tier athlete? Because the pay is way lower, the risk is way higher. Why would you go into martial arts, like mixed martial arts, unless you loved it? Now, but this is the thing. I think there will always be people who want to do things like boxing, mixed martial arts, bare knuckle boxing, which is a like huge thing now.
King of Fighters.
Yeah.
No. What is it? King of the Streets.
Yeah.
King of the Streets. Bro.
Now, if you talk to any of those guys, if you sat them down and were like, actually, like you're being exploited right now, and like this is, it's true that they're absolutely being exploited. I want conditions for those guys to get a lot better. I want the pay to increase. I want all of that stuff for them. But I think many of them would still want to fight.
Oh yeah.
Even if you put them through like a 2-month seminar where they became like neurologists after it, they would still probably be fighting, because it's just a mentality certain people have. It's this thing where it's like, I'm glad they have kind of an outlet for it. You know what I mean?
You'd be like, "Are you worried about the CT?" And they just give you the Jocko stare.
Yeah, man.
They just
Dead silence.
Just give you the Jocko stare, just like, I am a warrior.
So I think in terms of that, like, it's important to get that information out, because obviously, like, we want our sports heroes to be as healthy as possible. But a lot of those, just when you listen to them, when you hear them talk, it really does seem like it's bad. It's always been bad. Like, we've had an idea of this for a while. Like, the term punchy has been around for a very long time in boxing. But now we're realizing punchy is actually like irreversible brain damage. And it's really sad. It's really devastating. You do wonder if people back then knew and had all the information, if they would still do it. But the answer is like, now,
hell yeah.
Now this is an inflated version of this. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna add a story, because I think they thought that my dad had CT, because he played semi-professional football. He almost got into the majors, and he was, I believe, a linebacker.
Linebacker, yeah.
And back then, they were like, you have to start with the head.
Also linebackers back then, because they ran out of the I formation more, would have to just get drilled by fullbacks all day. They were just getting drilled by fullbacks constantly. So yeah, it's a rough. But you look at a guy. Now, let me just give you an example. Gervonta Davis. He's a boxer from Baltimore, and I mean Baltimore, dude. This guy,
he the dude who just beat
Ryan Garcia.
Okay,
just beat Ryan Garcia. This guy came up in like abject rough situation, and that's where a lot of boxers come from. That guy, I think, would box no matter what. If you could get like all the information out about it, and he would still box. And I think that's similar with a lot of football players. I think, honestly, the best way, like, this is the thing, is society isn't perfect and isn't gonna be perfect. We're never gonna be perfectly engineered. Like, we like football. Two things can be held at the same time, and it's not contradictory. It's just the duality of people. It's like, we can understand football is bad for you, and yet people still want to play it, and people still want to watch it.
And I think there's another side to it, because there's another part to. I'm actually going to put it back up for a little second here. There's another part to this. It's like, when it comes to young people, is the NFL in itself like appealing to young people? Because it's kind of like, you know how they're saying like the Oscars, there's like the lowest viewing. But people still like good movies. But the Oscars as an institution, it's not as strong as it used to be. It's kind of diluted. And the NFL could be the same thing.
I wouldn't be surprised, because here's another thing. I think the NFL, by proxy, is a incredibly conservative institution. It is a very, very conservative institution. Now, when I say that, I'm not just talking about like, oh, the people in the NFL tend to vote for Republicans. I mean, like, the physical makeup of the NFL. They fly fighter jets during the Super Bowl. Like, there's so many military commercials during NFL games. And I think, like, political shifts do affect people's perception of sports. And I think if you got like a young, politically active Gen Z person, and you sat them down, and let's say they didn't know anything about football, and you sat them down, you showed them football, you showed them like top to bottom what it is, what it's like, all that stuff. I think they would find a lot of moral issues. Now, personally,
I don't even think that. I just think they may be just tired with the NFL, maybe certain rules, maybe like I guess the ethos or their official statements or whatever. But football, it's kind of like all the different fighting competition companies. I think it's just like that, because football will never. It is a bona fide good sport. Organizations die, but the sport itself doesn't.
Yeah. This is something I think is interesting to dive into a little bit, and I want to get your opinion on this when I say it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the UFC is a very exploitative organization.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just be honest here. There's parts of the UFC that I really don't like. However, there's another thing that goes on simultaneously where it's like they're also the highest paying. They're the highest grossing,
Yeah.
and they're also the highest paying, right?
Yeah.
They've made moves that I really really don't like.
Mm-hmm.
They stopped letting athletes get their own sponsorships to wear in the ring, and
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
monopolized that. Like they've
Yeah.
done, but I still watch it, man.
Because it's so
I
good.
still well, I'm just so compelled by it. I've been watching it since I was a kid, but it does give me conflict. It makes me conflicted because it makes me think, am I a bad person for continuing to watch this thing that I do have direct moral disagreements with?
Yeah, and I'm on the other side, just like I just want to see blood. I just want to
Yeah,
see
yeah. Well,
blood.
you on the other hand will watch like Russian fighting leagues that I
Yeah,
don't even think are
top dog.
sanctioned.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just two dudes, just two of the toughest dudes in their towns in Eastern Europe, just
Yeah.
going at it because I just want to live blood. Yeah,
Yeah, now those fighting leagues I have more of a problem with.
I have no problem with them.
Yeah. Well, I do like the videos where the guy has like a guy gets the shit kicked out of him who also seems to have a Nazi tattoo.
Yeah,
That's cool.
he's like a recurring guy. That's
Yeah,
like-
but then when I watch it with you, I realize that guy wins sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like this. This is bad.
my boy from France. Woo-woo.
There's a UFC fighter with a communist hammer and sickle tattoo, and I really do wonder if that's going to cause some
That's
upheaval.
a dime a dozen. I mean, that's not even. That's not even.
I
a
mean,
blink.
yeah, in Williamsburg, not in the UFC.
That's a blend. There's gonna be like hipster, types that
No.
yeah, and the hammer and sickle.
This is the thing about the UFC,
every
dude.
e-girl has a hammer and
Every
sickle. in
e-girl,
their-
but I would doubt there has ever been a progressive UFC champion ever. I don't know if there has ever been a
no, the very
politically.
sport goes against that.
Well, that's the thing, dude. I had this conversation with my friend Cooper because he asked me such interesting questions because I've been watching the sport for so long, and he was like, "Do you think there's ever been a Democrat who has won a UFC championship?"
Mhm.
And I can't really think of one.
The closest thing is just like a '90s liberal, you know?
Yeah, like a Bill Maher type guy. But even
That's
even
as
those
far as
guys,
we
I
go,
don't even.
you
But
know?
it's interesting. Yeah, I think what it does really show you is like the importance of being able to understand like a level of duality in your life. To also be a human being, it's like you don't need to be perfect. You can do certain things that as long as it's not directly harming others and stuff. There's
Right.
like just gonna be a level of moral. It's like the whole vegans eating bugs that are
Mhm.
or like that get killed in the preparation of their
Yeah.
vegetables. It's like they're doing the right thing. They're doing a really good thing, but it doesn't completely free them moral. It just puts them in like a better moral place, but it's a scale. It's never binary.
Right.
You're never making the correct moral decision. You always just have to kind of weigh it. And it's like sometimes you've got to be like, yeah, you know what? Kind of being a person is actually hard sometimes, and I'm just
Yeah.
gonna enjoy this thing.
Sometimes you just gotta say, I just want to see blood.
It's like this thing that people I don't fully disagree with you in this way, because I think there's this thing where everyone needs to politicize the things that they enjoy, where you can't just like the Barbie movie.
Mhm.
You have to write a dissertation about why the Barbie movie is also incredibly important to society.
Mhm.
I don't think that's what if you feel that way, that's great. If you want to write the dissertation, that's great. You don't have to. You
Mhm.
can just like something.
Mhm.
That's great.
Mhm.
That's great. You know why circuses and popcorn have been around for a long time? Because people need to enjoy life to a degree.
Mhm. Mhm. No, I feel that, dude. I just want to say, I just want to put this comment up here
Mhm.
from Catherine.
Go ahead, read it.
Poor bugs. Poor bugs.
Bugs and mice and voles.
Here we go. Right here. Next question. Right here. Bam. I think it would be harder to be a bug. Absolutely.
Do you think it'd be harder to be a bug than to be a person?
I think it'd be hard to be. I was gonna say it'd be harder to be a big bird. You know what I mean? I'm the biggest bird.
What if you're the biggest bird?
What if you're the biggest bird?
What if you're an ostrich?
Oh man.
They would seem angry all the time. Well, I think it would be easier to be a bug.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you don't have like the weight of consciousness.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Thank you, Catherine, for saying. I'm like these poor bugs, these poor UFC fighters, but I want to see blood.
Oh, you think that well, I don't. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
to the organization, I think a lot of them are.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But I do think that's a very interesting, fundamentally human thing, and I think we're going away from it in society. I think society is going in this direction of sort of a binary understanding of good and bad.
Yeah.
Because I think we've simplified things to this level where everything needs to fit in a 1-minute TikTok. So we can't really discuss like, oh, well, this person, like, it's understandable why they're acting this way, but their opinions may not be right. And it has to be like, this is why Chet Hanks is the most evil man in the entire world. Like, and it's like, I don't think everything he does is great, but are we gonna be that reductive?
Yeah. I just want to say we're having a big bug conversation in the chat. Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, the ants. I just wanted to mention that. You guys are funny as hell. We're talking about the morality of the UFC and greater society, and people are like, fuck this, dude. Oh, I F this. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay. Don't worry about it. Who cares? Hey, if you can't handle that, go back to SeaWorld, baby.
Go back to SeaWorld. You ever been to SeaWorld?
No.
I have.
Here's the thing. This is so funny, tying it to the conversation. After seeing Black Whale, I'm morally opposed to it. However, I'll eat salmon.
Oh yeah.
Every day.
I will eat whale. If I go to Japan, you best believe I am getting me some dolphin. Bruh.
Do you think it would taste good?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd probably be I would think it would be I don't even know. Maybe gamey.
Do you ever have to morally justify to yourself eating meat, or do you not even think about it?
Absolutely. Actually, I do think morally.
Yeah.
I think about it deeply, and I'm like, I just want to see blood.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing about. I go back and forth with the idea of this because, like Nikki Glazer, she's a comic. I don't know if you've seen her stuff, but she was on a podcast recently talking about being vegan, and she was like, well, it's crazy that we live in this world where if anyone does anything rude or cruel to a dog, we freak out. However, we can just eat a pig or a cow without thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And I think what that points to could be if you hear that and you feel that and you go, well, that means that you should never like eat an animal. I respect the hell out of that. But I think that you're going to find contradictions like that throughout any society. You're going to find and I think it goes to show like being a person is not about like fundamentally engineering a perfect moral world. Sometimes like you want to be as moral as possible. Sometimes like part of being a human is that weirdness, is the fact that like, a lot of this doesn't make sense. A lot of this is actually downright weird.
Makes you think.
But both of those things can still like exist. Both of those things can still be real.
Yeah.
We just treat dogs more like people. Like that's just how our society. In Egypt, cats were like treated like gods.
Yeah.
And we don't treat cats like gods here, but we definitely treat them better than a cow. So it's just like, like society is built on these inherent contradictions. So part of being a person, part of being a human being is sometimes just being okay with those. Now, if you want to be a vegan, more power to you, and that's great.
I'm going to take a strong stance on this.
Okay.
I think because I know a few vegans, I've dated a vegan. I think, my opinion, veganism is a bit extreme.
Go on.
Vegetarianism, just as Nat mentioned in the chat, that's reasonable.
Mhm.
That is very reasonable. But veganism, it's I remember I was talking with my ex-girl and she was like, I'm losing, I'm starting to like lose my hair. I don't have a lot of energy. And I was like, oh, just like eat an egg or something.
I knew a woman who was going through like very extreme health problems,
Yeah.
and the doctor suggested that she eat meat, and they got better.
Instant, and it's like, I mean, I think veganism, if it's like something religious, then that makes sense.
Sure.
But like, I think it's just too much. I might get people mad, but I think it's just it's
Well, it's person to person. I think it's just as reductive to be like it's too much. I think that if certain people want to be vegans and they're healthy, they should just be vegans and be healthy. But also, there's ways to do veganism where you actually can sort of bioengineer the nutrients that you do need, but it costs a little bit of money.
Yeah. And I just want to mention from Miss Badly, the guy that wants to see blood is talking about veganism as extreme. Yes, we got to think about this.
Well, as God, what was that? That guy who did that book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. I forget his name.
Yeah.
But he was very clear about this, where he's like, well, like part of being a human is like being half sentient and half animal, and part of that being an animal is like you're gonna end up eating life. Listen, like I know this is a stupid point to make, but it's like, yeah, those plants that you eat did require some animals to die, and also that plant was alive. So you can make the argument plants don't have feelings, but there's been some studies that show that they do have things that are similar to feelings. So
yeah. And I think it's just more people are just uncomfortable with the even people who eat meat are uncomfortable with the process. I think Urza mentioned up here, you gotta like dress, you gotta like actually hunt and like dress an animal,
Right.
like undress them, skin them, whatnot, prepare them. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay. I don't want to go all over the place. I do think veganism it's a bit too far, and it's just so hard to maintain for. And if you're not doing it for religious reasons, it's just like, come on, bro, just eat an egg.
But they just don't want animals to get hurt. Like they have a moral issue with the idea of animals being harmed or kept in cages, and so they don't want to participate in that.
Yeah.
So a lot of them, I think, do kind of know they're foregoing certain health benefits of eating like really good like, organic meat. And it's a little harder, especially in this country, to do that sort of thing. Like,
yeah, and the meat is.
Oh my God! Especially if you're traveling, could you imagine being vegan and traveling?
Yeah.
I was in because I try to only eat meat once a week. That's my thing. I do make cutbacks. I do. I try to eat meat once a week.
Loser. Loser. Eat a Slim Jim.
Well, I will, but just not a lot. Like that. That's the sort of compromise that I make with myself. I understand. Okay.
Is
Eating
it more like a controlled thing, like for you, self moderation?
Oh, I just also think it's kind of messed up how much meat we eat in this country. Like, I think I'd be fine. I've like fished in my life and stuff. I'm fine with that. Like, I don't really have a lot of internal struggle with that. A lot of people say things like, "Oh, well, if you eat meat, would you be comfortable with like, killing an animal?" And I was like, "To eat, I think I would."
You'd have a problem with it?
I don't think I would.
Oh no,
no. But on that same note, I don't think we need to be killing the amount that we are. I think it's a little bit silly how often we eat meat. I think it's a little bit silly as a country. We think that a meal isn't a meal unless there is meat involved in it.
Yeah.
And I think it does cause on the opposite end of what you're saying a lot of health problems.
No, I'd say my only issue is just like the quality of meat. That especially again, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can you can eat all the. I'm a ham. I'm a steak, eggs, bacon in the morning. Even though I do not eat it, I usually like.
When's the last time you got your blood pressure checked?
This was like 7 years ago. That's the last time I was in a hospital.
And where was it? Where was your blood pressure at? Do you remember?
It was extremely high. Okay, and I'm gonna say because I walked like 2 miles to Boston Medical Center, through Boston Skid Row. I had drank like 3 Red Bulls.
What Boston Scooter is that? Mass Ave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, and they were like, "Your blood pressure is insanely high," and I was like, "Yeah, I drank like 3 Red Bulls on the way here." Yeah, and that was 7 years ago. That was the last
But
time.
I feel like that's still kind of an accurate reading of your blood pressure because you usually are in that state.
No, my blood pressure is fine. I think I got my blood pressure done when I had the. Can I talk about hemorrhoids? Do you think?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so like a few months ago, I had like the largest hemorrhoid that burst, and
I changed my mind.
Okay, but
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Cutting out the graphics.
No, I mean you can be. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was bleeding for.
I'm sorry, buddy.
And it was like the size of a grape. It was maybe not the size of a grape, but it was big and it was bleeding. And I went to an urgent care, and yeah, they took my blood pressure. They said at least that
said you were fine. Okay, good.
Like, it's kind of weird that you're lightheaded. That's kind of a problem. It means you maybe have lost a lot of blood, but your blood pressure is good.
See, I kind of hurt my back a little bit ago, and I was feeling really down, and I'm like, oh, and then I hear my friend's health problems, and I'm like, you know what, I'm fine.
You just see me once a week.
Yeah.
Just messed up.
Well, folks, thank you for listening. We're going to switch over to the Patreon. So if you want to join that, it's $5 a month. If you want to just try it out, throw that $5, listen to a couple episodes, go ahead and cancel it. Why not?
Yeah.
You know, or stick around if you like it. You know, that's all I'm saying is this money goes to fixing Terrence's life.
Yes.
Not really. A lot of it goes to me, but I just want money. Is that so bad?
That's not bad.
Is it bad to just want a little bit more money?
No, you're the big daddy. Dude.
I'm not doing great. I'm doing fine. It's not great.
Yeah.
I did my taxes a little while ago, and so I got to see exactly how much money I actually netted.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you off camera.
Yeah.
Not a lot of decimals.
It was like, you know, those checks that you get from like a supermarket that you used to work for or something. You got that $3 check.
One of those. Yeah.
It's one of those situations.
It's so funny when you get a return on your taxes where the government's just like, we're just gonna give you some cash, man.
Yeah. I know I was doing better the minute that I just didn't get tax return. I didn't get any return. I haven't had returns in like 10 years.
Shut up. Stop bragging.
I'm out here. I used to get like $1,000.
Yeah.
And then that was just gone. I'm like, what's the problem?
Yeah. A tax return is the government's way of understanding struggle, which I do appreciate.
Real talk.
But anyway, well, thank you all for listening. Please join us on the Patreon. We're going to record it right after this. And as always, have a good one.